If mowing down waves of undead Nazi zombies in VR sounds like your kind of weekend, you're allegedly in luck. Zombie Army VR gives you the privilege of enjoying an alternate history apocalypse with just enough story to keep things moving and plenty of chaos. So here's the good, the jank, and everything in between, so you know exactly if you're getting your money's worth, starting with the theme. First off, this game is, by all intents and purposes, a zombie shooter, but this one comes with the bonus of an actual plot baked into the action. A full-on alternate history where Hitler decides to unleash an army of the undead before blowing his load in classic Hitler fashion. You're thrown into this story as a dead hunter, which is basically a fancy title for someone who's really good at putting down Nazi zombies. Supposedly, you're one of the best, and the game doesn't waste time reminding you of that. Now, the whole Nazi zombie concept has been done before. It's nothing new, but this version adds enough flavor to make it feel fresh. It's not just brainless shooting, though there's plenty of that too. But supposedly, this game has multiple modes available. Zombie Army VR has a full single-player campaign, which is where you'll find the aforementioned missions, cutscenes, and some eerie world building that helps the stakes feel impactful. The game does offer multiplayer too, but to be honest, I didn't get to explore that much because, like a lot of niche VR games, the online player count just wasn't there when I jumped in, so that opportunity was unfortunately not even available to me. It's a shame because I feel like multiplayer in a game like this would be an amazing take on that classic group zombie horde slaying gameplay. But speaking of gameplay, let's switch gears and talk about the mechanics. As far as this game actually plays, it's pretty straightforward. You move from one area to the next, clear out a handful of zombies, maybe press a button or find a fuse or two, and then get absolutely swarmed by a much bigger undead crowd. Think of it like a wave shooter posing as a story-driven campaign. Obviously, you'll be using guns and they work like guns for the most part. This game has a kill cam feature where lining up a headshot allows for a cinematic view of the carnage you're causing.
Through the helmet, baby.
This feature alone adds so much style to the moment-to-moment combat. As far as jank goes, reloading in Zombie Army VR is not as smooth as I'd hoped. You have to physically look down at your ammo belt for it to register. In the middle of a horde, this could very well be a death sentence. I found myself fumbling for a reload way too often. It's not unplayable, but it is annoying, and at times it breaks the rhythm of combat. Oddly enough, the same goes for aiming. The guns just don't always shoot where you're pointing. Sometimes it's just a minor offset, but in a game where headshots mean higher scores, that kinda sucks. You get used to it eventually, and as bad as all of that sounds, this game is still very fun, but it's one of those things that shouldn't require getting used to in the first place. But speaking of higher scores, this game does have a simple progression system. Points are earned every campaign level by hunting the undead at every turn. You even get points for taking out the occasional bird or rat. More points means you level up faster and gain access to better weapon upgrades. There are also collectibles for the completionists amongst us, like this totally not creepily animated zombie hand and these totally not creepy dolls. Weapon storage is pretty standard VR stuff. You've got your primary guns on your shoulders and a sidearm on your waist. Now, your special items inventory that holds grenades, healing items, etc. is stored in a floating menu that's opened with a button, which is kind of inconsistent, but it works. But not everything about the physical world behaves like you'd expect. There are weird hitboxes on certain objects like tables and ammo crates where the collision zone extends farther than it should, so you'll try to lean in and your body just kind of floats or gets blocked by invisible walls. It messes with immersion and makes the world feel just a little less grounded. As far as raw mechanics go though, the gameplay loop here simply works because the mechanics are enjoyable, all things considered. The horde design keeps the game fun and the pacing itself never really felt like it dragged. You just have to be willing to work around the rough edges. But as far as graphics go, for a game that kinda popped out of nowhere for me, Zombie Army VR looks surprisingly good. Up close, some of the textures don't hold up. If you get your face right next to a wall or a weapon, you'll definitely notice low resolution surfaces, but at normal viewing distance it all looks good. There's clearly some VR magic going on here because even though a few surfaces look kind of basic when you're inspecting them, they somehow look amazing when you're actually playing. That contrast is kind of wild, like a wooden beam might look like trash while the rust on a truck might look convincing. Your headset won't melt from these graphics, but this game delivers a solid visual experience. If other VR devs could figure out how to pull off this same visual trickery, sharp from a distance but forgiving up close, we'd have a lot more good-looking VR games. But when it comes to audio, Zombie Army VR actually pulls ahead of a lot of other VR shooters.
If they're shooting back, it means they've got a leader.
Oh, you're gonna have a tough fight on your hands. No choice but to carve your way through.
Especially in the voice dialogue department. The NPCs in this game sound like they have a personality instead of just rattling off mission instructions. It's becoming increasingly common in smaller indie games, and I can appreciate that.
This is occult magic. Only by killing enough of the Horde will you be able to break the seal.
These NPCs sound like real fed up people, and that goes a long way for immersion. Now, beyond the voices, the rest of the audio design holds up well enough. The sound effects and background music both set the tone exactly the way you'd expect. The music is a little loud by default, but it matches the atmosphere and ramps up nicely during horde fights. As for the guns, they aren't quite as punchy as they could be. They don't sound bad, but they're not exactly satisfying either. Some weapons feel like they could use a little more bass in the sound department. Still, the overall soundscape is immersive enough. When it comes to options and UI, the design isn't the most immersive, but it is intuitive. Your health and stamina are displayed on your wrist. Integrations like this should be the VR standard at this point. It's intuitive and doesn't pull you out of the experience. The earlier mentioned inventory system is a prime example of intuitive but unimmersive design. You press a button that opens a floating menu in front of you and it works, but it just feels like a missed opportunity. The options menu itself also feels basic. The layout is flat and there's not a lot of visual flair, but to its credit, the aesthetic here is consistent with the rest of the game, and you have a decent number of settings to tweak. If nothing else, it doesn't feel like a half-baked afterthought. As far as the options themselves, you can expect variable vignette settings, adjustable weapon holsters, and plenty of other small tweaks to customize your experience. Now, in terms of overall immersion, what we've got here is a fresh take on a classic zombie arcade shooter with enough story to keep things interesting. It's not flawless, but it's a fun ride if you're into that whole undead Warzone vibe or just don't like Nazis. Here are my scores for this game so you can see how it stacks up to others I've played, but my raw opinion is that Zombie Army VR is a solid experience if you're looking for a casual yet mildly challenging experience. If you're not into gore for whatever reason though, feel free to check out one of my other reviews, give this video a like if you hate Nazis, and subscribe for more VR game content. Until next time.
The dead are backing off. Please don't do that again, Dead Hunter.
Don't do what? Bitch, you asked me to come save you.